Hello everyone and welcome back to the very last Love Cafe Oktoberfest episode. 4 weeks ago we met James, who dropped this on us.
Maybe a Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte.
To which my immediate response and attempt was...
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So now, I'm here to say, Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte. How was that, James?
That's close. That's Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte.
Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte. I've been practicing.
Yeah. Close enough. I'll give you the pass.
Well, foreshadowed in the first Oktoberfest, today we're making Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte, or as I prefer to call it, Black Forest cake. So what can you tell us about the Black Forest cake?
Yeah, like obviously when you say it with the long fancy German name, sometimes people won't know what you mean, but it literally just translates to Black Forest cake, and everyone's heard of a Black Forest cake. Black Forest cake is the chalky cake with cream, cherries, sort of like cherry jam in the middle.
Yum.
More layers, more layers, more layers. Whipped cream on top. Glacé cherry on top. Yeah, it's just the perfect dessert.
I'm sure we can manage that today. So is it something you ate there a lot from memory when you were over there?
So much. Like when I was staying in Germany the first time, my host mum would pretty much go to the bakery every day, get a bunch of like bread rolls to have for brekkie or dinner or whatever, and would always bring home like a few slices of proper German cake so that I could try all the different cakes. By a long shot, Black Forest cake was always my favorite.
Beautiful. Well, as nervous as I am to try this, I think we should get into it. Thank you so much for bookending this month's episodes about Oktoberfest and helping us learn about Germany, and then jumping in the middle there for Semmel-Knödel. I still struggle with that. Have you had a go at making anything this month?
Oh, that's all good. Glad to be of assistance. I haven't tried them yet. Can't wait to give the Semmel-Knödel a go, given that I've never had them. Yeah, and honestly, I'm most keen to see how the Black Forest cake goes. Can't wait to see it, because as much as it's a really just indulgent, rich cake, the best part about it, I reckon, is how it looks. Just looks awesome. So hope that you can replicate the Google images that you've been researching.
Thank you so much again. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Awesome, let's get into it. But first, I think I should change. Oh, that is better. Okay, so today we're doing the Black Forest cake, and I think my accent is a little bit confused whether it's German or Dutch. I don't know. So maybe we'll just put that in the back pocket for now, yeah? Okay. Now for our Black Forest cake, what do we need? Now strap in, because there are a lot of ingredients, or just skip ahead, I don't know. 5 large eggs, separated. I guess the spark just withered. They drifted apart. Couldn't stay together anymore. Cup of sugar, cup of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, teaspoon vanilla, 1/3 of 1 cup of cornstarch, 1/4 cup cocoa powder, couple of cans of cherries, pitted. You need the juice and the cherries. More cornstarch for the filling, more sugar. 1/3 of 1 cup of kirsch or cherry brandy, creme. 1/2 cup powdered sugar. Lastly, James said glacé cherries. Sorry, Jim, I'm using Al Pacino. I mean, maraschino. And who could bloody forget your very last celebratory Oktoberfest beer? Before we start, I'd like to say another thank you to Sharon out there in Costume World for lending me this. I love it. Also thank you to Julia at Plated Cravings, for it is her recipe that we are using today. Link in the description. First things first, get your oven preheating to 180. Then, line a 20cm cake tin. Then we need to separate our eggs. If you don't know how to do that, here's a couple of my preferred ways. The first is with the actual egg itself, whereby you crack it and then slowly pull it apart to reveal both the white and the yolk, and then just try and let the white fall out as you toss the yolk between the 2 halves of the eggshell. Now this is a bit tricky, and also the sharp edges of the eggshell pose a threat to bursting the yolk, which you don't want to do. So after a few tosses, you should end up with just egg yolk in the shell, and then you can put that in your secondary bowl. Another bit more messier way is to crack it into your hands. So you can start by doing the same again, by tossing it into one half the eggshell and then straight into your other hand. And then you can do the same, just pass it over a couple times and all the egg white will have fallen through your fingers. Now that that's done, we can put our egg whites into the bowl of a stand mixer along with a half cup of sugar and beat on a high speed for about 8 minutes or until stiff peaks form. Once stiff peaks have formed, we can put the mixture into a large bowl and set that aside. Okay, Julia says the next step is with the paddle attachment of the stand mixer to combine the egg yolks with the last half cup of sugar and vanilla extract. Then we'll beat until creamy and then fold in the egg white mixture. Once together, set the egg mixture aside and then in another bowl, combine the flour, baking powder, cornstarch and cocoa powder and sieve that over the egg mixture and again, fold that in carefully until it's all combined. Mixing this now, I would advise you to do yours a bit at a time rather than just about all at once. The mixture is now combined so we can get it into our cake tin and then chuck it in our hot oven for, the recipe says 25 minutes, or until a skewer comes out clean. Okay, so it's a couple of hours later. The cake is cooled and has finished cooking. But now I'm faced with the task of dividing this cake into 3. By the way, here it is. Looks like a cake. Okay, so with a cake knife, I want to try and divide this into 3. Okay, amazing. We have now roughly 3 even pieces of cake and it's time to make our fillings. To do that, as per the recipe, I'm combining 4 tablespoons of cherry juice with 5 tablespoons of cornstarch and 2 of sugar. Over on the stove now, I'm bringing the remaining cherry juice to a simmer so that I can add in the cornstarch and cherry mixture. Then I'm going to bring it back to a simmer, whisking constantly until it starts to thicken. Now I'm chucking in the cherries off the heat, adding in roughly now half of our kirsch. And we can set that aside for about 10 minutes now. Using the stand mixer again, we're going to whip 4 cups of cream by putting in obviously 4 cups of cream into the stand mixer. And once that forms soft peaks, we're adding in a half cup of powdered sugar and beating until stiff peaks form. Okay, I'm now going to attempt to assemble this Black Forest cake, which I have elected to do on the only cake stand that I could find in our house. And I'm pretty sure it's from the 90s. Nice little floral looking number. Anyway, so to start, we're putting the top part of the cake on the bottom. Of course, that makes sense. I'm going to flatten it off a bit actually. Okay, so to start, we're going to put the top layer of the cake on the bottom and then we're going to drizzle some kirsch over that. Oh, what is this? Ah, it's a visual gag. 99 red balloons. I think I'm funny. Well done, everyone involved. Alright, so we're drizzling some kirsch over the bottom / top layer of the cake, hitting it with our cherry mixture. Recipe says half. I feel like I may not have reduced it enough. Now we need to leave an inch border, also when you put the other layers on, it doesn't just squeeze out, and I feel like it's going to do that anyway. So I've really loaded this up, but we persist. Onwards. Then we're going on with roughly 1/4 of our cream. Oh god. Tongue is out for maximum concentration, by the way. I would suggest you do the same. If you saw how thick, or rather thin, my cherry mixture was, I would suggest you go a little bit more, because I have a lot left over. A little bit more as in a little bit more thick. Now we've got all the layers on, we're putting 1/3 of the rest of the cream that we have on top of the cake. So looking a bit leaning tower-like. Alright, and now we're going to cover, or attempt to cover, the sides in cream. With no doubt the cherry's going to sort of peek through, but that's okay. This is our first crack at making bloody Black Forest cake. Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte. I'm going to call this beginner's luck. I would absolutely chalk this in as a win, but you know what? Don't get too ahead of yourself. Cake decorators, please comment below How do you do the corners of the cake without just like revealing the edge constantly? There's a secret to this. It's called the presentation side, right? Now I'm looking at the non-presentation side, and you're looking at also the non-presentation side. That's okay. Accept each other for who we are. Alright, one of the last things we're going to do is grate some chocolate that we can put around the edges of our cake. Okay, grating the chocolate sucked, so I ended up just putting it in the blender, and now I'm faced with this sort of pebbly chocolate dust which we need to sort of coerce to stick to the sides of the cake. Alright, so there's chocolate on the side of the cake, more or less. So we're done, right? Wrong. Now we have to put on cream onto the top of the cake and some cherries, because this cake is unrelenting in its effort into crushing the syrup. So around the top of the cake, we're just going to pipe little bits. Now we can open our charades. Oh my goodness, it's done. We have one Black Forest cake in front of me and one just about broken person in front of you. Thank you very much for joining me on the last Love Cafe Oktoberfest episode. If you enjoyed what you've been seeing the last few weeks, please drop a like, subscribe and share this with your mates. Have a go at something at home and have a beer. Go Melbourne, 0 cases on the day that I recorded this. Alright, and I couldn't go past giving you guys a cheeky cross section, so I'm going to try my best to get a good slice. Thank you very much for everyone that's joined me this month for the Love Cafe Oktoberfest. Thank you very much for Sharon, who lent me the Oktoberfest outfit. We love it. And thank you to you who's been watching and subscribed and has liked or commented and whatever. Please share it around if you've enjoyed it. And even if you haven't, share it around, I guess. I'm not the one who messed up big time, so spare me the details if you don't mind. Do 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 do. Now I can understand friends who want to live, anyone that cannot mind of the play by play. Don't really want to know, so don't tell me anymore, as I really don't want to hear about feet all up in the air